This is the worship vlog. I am passionate about worship. Whoa. I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm Chaz Louder. I'm 32 years old. I've been married to an amazing woman named Carolyn for almost 9 years. We have a couple of these and one of these. And we live in Minnesota. Yeah, it gets crazy cold here sometimes. In my short 32 years, I've been privileged to do and see some pretty amazing and fun stuff. But that doesn't mean that life's always been easy. In fact, it sucked too. But in the center of it all, in the high points and low points, there's this guy named Jesus helping me through. He's pretty awesome. I'm sure you've heard about him, and worshiping him is what this vlog is all about. So whether you're a newbie, or you've been around the block, or maybe you've just come curious with some questions, this channel is all about life, faith, and worshiping him who makes it all possible. Welcome back to the Worship Vlog. My name is Chaz Louder, and yet again, at 5:30, I'm at KTIS. I shouldn't be here, but I'm here, and it's just one of those things. I thought I'd give you some new scenery as opposed to look at the microphone on the screen. You get to see my view. Ta-da! I know, pretty amazing. It's a street corner with cars zipping by. But hey, it's something different. This is the Worship Vlog, a vlog all about faith, life, and worship. And today I have an interesting one. You might have seen my Twitter or Facebook feed that I'm preaching on Wednesday about honoring your father and mother, which is going to be a very hard topic for me. I have a really strained relationship with my own dad, and it makes me think, how do I honor my father and my mother when we have such a hard relationship, a strained relationship? And so I've been looking at that, and especially something caught my attention. First of all, the Ten Commandments, this is commandment, what, number 4 or 5? Probably should know that before for Wednesday. But it's really interesting. It's the only commandment that carries a blessing. Everything else is a warning, you know. Like a good parent, God is giving us these rules because he loves us, not because you say you can't do this and boom, here's, you know, whatever. He's doing this for our own protection. But it's interesting, out of all these 10, only one carries a blessing after, a little amendment, if you will. And here's what Exodus 20:12 says: "Honor your father and mother, that your days may be prolonged in the land which your Lord your God gives you." Now the land he's talking about for them is the Promised Land. They're going to Israel, they're going to the Promised Land, they're going to cross the river. And how does that apply to us? Because obviously we're not crossing to a Promised Land, but my sphere of influence, my things I'm responsible for, my Promised Land here is KTIS. It's across the street, Roseville, where I live, my house. And if I'm going to have prolonged life and blessing, it's clear that there's some importance with this commandment. I don't think you can completely throw it away. I think that'd be silly. So how can we apply that for today? Well, I think one of the things that clearly articulates this blessing that we see in the Old Testament is, you know, something that's going on at work. We've had a lot of people here, unfortunately, lately. Relatives have passed away. And one guy in particular has been caring for his dad the last few months. Typical things, you know, nursing home, failing health, all that sort of stuff. Well, in that time, just to see this guy's example of grace and patience and mercy and compassion, and at the same time loving and honoring and respecting his dad, even though they have a different worldview, or at least certainly a skewed worldview, to see him love and respect and worry about his eternal destination, all those things with such grace has been an inspiration to me. And I think the application for all of us is seen in this guy, in where the blessing is going to come from. You know, the days may be prolonged. Is this guy has 2 daughters, and his daughters are seeing this example of how he's caring for their grandfather. And someday when he gets older, he'll probably be the recipient of the same type of care and love from his daughters. So I think maybe part of the blessing for us here in 2010 is what it goes around comes around. It all comes around. You're establishing, just like so many things we see in the Old Testament, that the God's people sharing the tradition orally from generation to generation. I think that's what we're seeing here. Continuing on, the thing that really got my attention is a guy who loves worship, loves music, and I equate those two things together, even though I know they don't exclusively have to be. But Jesus teaches on this same topic in Mark. Mark chapter 7, I believe it is. Yep, it is. Mark chapter 7. The scribes, Pharisees are giving him a hard time. They're bent out of shape over some religious, I like that. Just basically making things a lot harder than they need to be. And Jesus says, it's not about, you can't do anything to the outside of your body that's going to clean the heart. He also talks about honoring your father and mother, and he quotes Isaiah almost word for word. And he says, this people honors me with their lips, but their hearts are far from me. But in vain do they worship me, teaching as doctrines the precepts of men. But then he goes on to talk about honoring your father and mother. And it went back to me talking about, you can say you honor your father and mother. You can set up, a weekly phone call, but is that really honoring them? How are you really honoring them? Are you honoring them through some little man-made device, some little rule you've set in place for yourself? If you're doing that, and again, going back to worship, it says, they honor me with their lips, but their hearts are far from me. But in vain do they worship me. So that was convicting to me this week. And what do you do when your father or mother is not necessarily worthy of honor? Romans chapter 13 talks about a little governmental thing. It says, every person is to be subject to the governing authorities, for there is no authority except from God, and those which exist are established by God. So it says, therefore, whoever resists authority has opposed the ordinance of God. So God put these people in place. They put your parents in place above you. They are really your authority. I know that's really dealing more with government. But take the example. Maybe if you're a raging conservative, maybe you really don't like Obama. We still have to respect his position and honor his position. If I met Obama and I didn't vote for him, I'd still respect him and say, gosh, nice to meet you, Mr. President. Probably I have a question or two for him and get to ask them respectfully. But the same thing with our parents. If our parents aren't worthy of honor, and all parents, all people are sinful, how do we honor and respect them and have some sort of relationship with them? How do we honor them in a biblical sense when they're not necessarily worthy or when they've made some incredible issue or flaw in their life? It's something I'm wrestling with this week. I hope that makes sense. And don't fake them. Don't say, well, everything's good, but when they're really not, because that can corrupt your worship. That's it. So many things can corrupt our worship, and I don't want anything to corrupt our worship. So that's it. It's a vlog about faith, life, and worship. I'm Chaz Louder. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you next time.
Change my way of thinking, make myself a different set of rules.